Hello, this is Michael Creedon, pre-sales team lead in the United States for Tradeshift, and welcome to today's Tour Tradeshift session. Today's discussion will be 30 minutes or less. For housekeeping purposes, just make sure your audio is turned on. There will definitely be time following the session for question and answer. And if you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to use the Q&A function and you'll receive a response immediately following the demonstration. So what is Tradeshift's vision? Right, very simply put, our vision is to connect every company in the world while creating economic opportunity for all. In today's session on Tradeshift Engage and Tradeshift Pay, we'll focus specifically on how Tradeshift aims to achieve this. So most of you know, the idea of deploying a full AP automation platform or initiative can feel overwhelming to many, right? But it doesn't have to be. And that's why Tradeshift approaches these projects really in a crawl, walk, run fashion, right? We can't boil the ocean, is what my old manager used to tell me. Right? That's why Tradeshift approaches these projects in that way, and we focus on three key steps: digitize, automate, and grow. Right? Our focus on onboarding sellers, providing instant value to them, and making invoice digitization for both sellers and buyers easy are the building blocks of any AP automation initiative. So let's take a look at how Tradeshift approaches this first phase of our technology rollout through Tradeshift Engage. Optimal onboarding rates and seller participation is only achieved by providing immediate value to the supplier base. Right? The problem with typical AP automation solutions is that they only provide value to the suppliers after they start transacting with the customers on the platform and after they activate an account on a particular portal. When sellers first join a platform, their accounts are essentially empty. Right? So there's no value whatsoever when the suppliers activate their accounts. Tradeshift understands this product gap and offers transaction transparency and insights to the suppliers through Tradeshift Engage, even before they join the Tradeshift network. Through our approach to adaptive onboarding, sellers are going to receive notifications of invoice receipt, approval, and payment, which is driven by Tradeshift's connection with our customer's ERP system, as well as predictive analytics for when payment is likely to be made by their customers. And once the suppliers activate their accounts, all of this historical data and adaptive onboarding information that has been served up to the suppliers are now available for review in the network and to collaborate digitally. So let's now discuss the impact that adaptive onboarding has when used in conjunction with traditional onboarding methods. While traditional onboarding methods, including email marketing campaigns and outreach, do work well to initiate seller interest, adaptive onboarding really provides that immediate call to action from which the sellers can truly derive value. Because the sellers are going to receive updates on actual invoices that have either been received, approved, or paid, customers are also going to realize a reduction in payment inquiries because we're providing that visibility to the supplier. Even before they activate their accounts, there's really no reason for the supplier to reach out and look for status of payment. They're getting that value up front. And this is really promoting a balanced value proposition for both parties. Still, beyond the technology piece, right, Tradeshift wants to ensure that customers achieve onboarding success with their seller base. So beyond the technology and beyond the marketing, what does Tradeshift do to drive towards that goal? Well, we don't just leverage marketing and adaptive onboarding campaigns to achieve this success. We understand that the success or failure of most AP automation solution rollouts are often measured by how many suppliers are engaging on the platform. So we deploy an entire team to this initiative for our customers to monitor onboarding activity, strategize on onboarding approach, and work directly with sellers, specifically the ones that are most strategic and the highest volume on an annual basis, on any potential integration requirements to get those suppliers locked and loaded on the Tradeshift network for easy invoice digitization. So now that we've talked a little bit about Tradeshift Engage, what are we going to see in this brief demonstration? We'll talk about adaptive onboarding, specifically the notifications and insights that the suppliers will get through that initiative. We'll walk through how a seller would activate their account from the adaptive onboarding notifications. And then we'll talk through how the supplier, once activated on the Tradeshift network, can initiate a payment inquiry and collaborate with their customers directly on the Tradeshift platform. So a seller is going to receive an email notification from Tradeshift when an invoice has been received, approved, or paid. And keep in mind, this notification is pre-platform. The suppliers have done nothing to activate a Tradeshift account. This data, this information, this outreach is 100% free for the suppliers. So in this example, an invoice has been approved by the customer, and the seller can review the details of the invoice, as well as others that have been sent previously, via the tracking link provided in the email. The landing page, right, that they're taken to displays information around historical payment timing, pending invoices, and when the seller can expect payment on those, a list of unpaid invoices and their statuses, and a list of paid invoices, when the invoices were received, when they were paid. And all of this information is free for the sellers and does not require a Tradeshift account. This is that value carrot I talked about earlier. Right? AP automation solutions don't provide this kind of pre-platform value the way that Tradeshift does. And if sellers want to unlock even more possibilities and value by activating their Tradeshift account, they can do this right from the landing page by completing their setup. The sellers will then complete a few steps to create their Tradeshift account, including creating a basic company profile, very analogous to LinkedIn, choosing a password, and verifying their email address. Once the activation is complete, the seller will have access to all of the historical transaction information from the adaptive onboarding campaign. Now that the seller has a Tradeshift account, it can inquire on payment statuses of invoices. So let's take a look at what that looks like. The seller dashboard here provides visibility into digital documents between the seller and the customer. The seller can make a payment inquiry by drilling into a list of accepted invoices and then viewing a specific invoice that has been approved by the customer but not yet paid. Once they're in the specific invoice, they can ask for a status of payment through the digital document collaboration panel. The supplier has reached out to the buying organization through the digital collaboration panel. The buying organization receives an email notification as well as a message from within the platform, and it can respond to the supplier, letting them know when payment will be made. The great part about this collaboration panel is that here Tradeshift is marrying the actual audit trail of the document itself, when it was sent, when it was received, when it was approved, with the conversation between both parties, really providing a central hub for document tracking and collaboration. The next step in Tradeshift's approach to digital transformation in the AP process is to use previous seller onboarding and invoice digitization efforts to really encourage AP automation and straight-through touchless invoice processing. So in this section, we're going to talk about Tradeshift Pay. Tradeshift Pay is the world's leading AP automation solution, addressing e-invoicing and global compliance requirements, handling AP workflow and matching, and leveraging artificial intelligence for more efficient processing. So how do Tradeshift Engage and Pay work in concert to drive digitization and automation efforts? Well, once those sellers are activated on the Tradeshift network from the adaptive onboarding campaigns I shared earlier, they have a variety of Tradeshift integration technologies through which to submit invoices. And network connectors like Vans and Pepple, for example, really do work well with high-volume, more strategic sellers. Now, sellers who have ERP systems in place, like QuickBooks or NetSuite, for example, can leverage transfer connectors, bringing invoices created in those systems into Tradeshift seamlessly. And sellers who send machine-generated PDF invoices from a ERP system, for example, can leverage Tradeshift in its PDF connector, which maps PDF data to Tradeshift UPL format And then web invoicing and purchase order flip features are great options for small and mid-sized sellers who really just require a simple invoicing method that can be done directly in the Tradeshift user interface. Once the invoices are submitted, the Tradeshift Business Firewall is going to evaluate those invoices really to ensure that they conform with Tradeshift, country, and customer data requirements. Those that do not match that criteria will be sent back to the suppliers for correction and reissue, ensuring that only conforming invoices hit the customer's Tradeshift account. Right? This is going to save our customers a heck of a lot of time in dealing with what I consider non-strategic exceptions. After this document validation, invoices are then subject to our PO matching or non-PO invoice coding and approval processes. And here's where ADA, Tradeshift's layer of artificial intelligence, is going to help our customers automate the invoice coding process to reduce manual touchpoints and review steps. And then fully matched, coded, and approved invoices then are going to be transferred into the ERP via our out-of-the-box connectors and integrations, which are going to allow for posting and payment to your suppliers. With Tradeshift Engage and Tradeshift Pay, customers really do benefit from digital network connectivity with their sellers. They benefit from transparency across the supply chain, and they benefit from digital transformation with processes that were previously manual. Now let's touch more on some of the aspects of Pay that encourage this transformation. A key aspect to driving AP automation efficiency is to increase invoice data quality to ensure that there are fewer exceptions and manual processing to deal with. A benefit of Tradeshift Pay here and digitization efforts is that validations can be imposed on a document sent from a seller to a buyer and deny the document from ever being delivered if not conforming to legal, customer, or even Tradeshift requirements. Our Business Firewall 2.0 allows our customers to require critical country-specific invoice data elements without slowing down seller adoption with too many business rules. And once the invoices bypass that firewall, they then enter Tradeshift workflow, right, where the matching and the AI-based coding is really performed. Whether it's 2- and 3-year matching, those initiatives can take place within Tradeshift, while providing digital collaboration capabilities really to help buyers and sellers expedite exception resolution. ADA, again, that layer of artificial intelligence that we have throughout Tradeshift, learns how our customer's AP team codes non-PO invoices and starts to make automated recommendations for appropriate coding. This is going to reduce reliance on manual coding and encourages more straight-through processing. And a customer's confidence level with ADA can be updated over time, again, going back to encouraging a crawl, walk, run approach to leveraging artificial intelligence and digitizing your AP process. Demonstration time again, right? So what are we going to see in this particular demonstration? Well, we're going to focus specifically on seller invoice submission through the web user interface. We'll talk through the business firewall and what impact that has on documents being sent and received. And we'll drill into task review and resolution, specifically around an invoice that does not match a purchase order based on price. And we'll also take a look at a non-purchase order invoice that requires coding. So I'm in my account as a supplier, and as we discussed earlier, sellers have flexible options to submit digital invoices. So let's look at how a seller would leverage the web user interface to submit a digital invoice and how Tradeshift's Business Firewall looks for accurate data before passing it through to the buyer's account. The firewall really ensures that the sellers include critical data on their invoices to their customers. For example, if a supplier tries to send through an invoice with a previously used invoice number, they're going to receive an alert that forces the seller to correct the mistake. If, for example, the customer requires a person of reference on the invoice, that business firewall is going to instruct the supplier that a person of reference is required on the invoice before it can be submitted. The firewall can be configured to meet country and customer requirements and ensure that only complete invoices are passed to the buyer. Now we can go ahead and submit that invoice. If the seller invoice matches the purchase order, or if the non-purchase order invoice is subject to ADA's coding, the customer will enjoy straight-through processing with Tradeshift. Clearly, though, not all invoices are going to be touchless. So let's take a look at how exceptions, such as a price mismatch between a purchase order and an invoice, or coding of a non-PO invoice, are addressed and resolved within Tradeshift Pay. An invoice has been received and its price differs from the purchase order. As noted here, there is a price exception that has come in to a particular user within the buying organization, and they have to review the task and determine the next steps for the invoice, either rejection or approval. The task owner can drill into the task in his or her Tradeshift account and review the exception details. Before the task owner rejects the invoice to the supplier, he or she can leverage the collaboration panel to notify the supplier of the mistake and confirm a new invoice will be sent. So I'll go ahead and open that collaboration panel. And here's a conversation between the buying organization, who is alerting the supplier that there's an exception, and the supplier confirming that this invoice is incorrect and that the buying organization can go ahead and reject the invoice. The task owner can now reject the invoice back to the supplier with a reason. And the seller also will now have access to the rejected invoice in its dashboard and be able to submit a corrected version. In the case of a non-PO invoice coding task, no collaboration with the seller is likely necessary. So let's drill into that particular task. However, perhaps the task owner wants to verify that the coding that ADA made on this particular invoice is correct with a peer before approving the invoice for payment. So that user can open up Collaboration Panel, add a user to the conversation, and send that user a note. The task owner, Owen here, asks his peer Paula to validate ADA's coding. Paula agrees with ADA eventually, and Owen is now in a position to continue the invoice along its approval path. The combination of flexible invoice submission options for sellers, the power of the business firewall, and the opportunities for both straight-through processing and swift digital collaboration, and exception handling, really does help drive customers using Tradeshift Pay towards more digital automation in its AP process. The third pillar of Tradeshift's approach to delivering value is grow. Now that invoice digitization workflow and automation have been leveraged, what else can customers leverage to expand the use of the Tradeshift network? You might not know it, but most of us have a powerful network platform in our back pocket. Your smartphone is on a network that allows you to call any other phone anywhere in the world. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, right? Well, your smartphone is also a platform for apps. Some apps are native to the platform, while others are provided by a third party. All of them perform tasks that offer some kind of unique value to you. Likewise, Tradeshift's a network, but for your business. Just as you can use your smartphone to reach any other phone in the world, or use LinkedIn as a network to make connections with other professionals, with the Tradeshift network, your business can establish digital connections with any other company. For example, new suppliers, and run powerful supply chain processes through those connections. Those processes are executed through the apps available on the platform. Like the smartphone, some apps are native to Tradeshift. Engage and Pay, we discussed previously. Right? Buy is Tradeshift's 21st century approach to digital procurement providing B2B marketplaces and a B2C-like shopping experience. Go is a virtual credit card solution to address potential rogue spend, built with a lightweight request approval workflow to ensure purchasing compliance. And our native offerings all come with digital connectivity, compliance, and intuitive user interface in mind. Other apps are provided by third parties. Combined, they provide powerful supply chain solutions because they're not just limited to what Tradeshift can provide, like a typical suite solution. Clearly, there's limitless ways to grow with Tradeshift. One leading logistics company in Europe was able to save $40,000 to $50,000 per month in foreign exchange and bank fees for cross-border payments by combining Tradeshift Pay with our app TransferMate. By using Tradeshift and multiple Quintess apps for supply chain visibility and ordering, a global food brand brought more of its spend under management with a PO invoice match rate of up to 90%. It also created a single platform for all supplier collaboration processes, including ordering, forecasting, and inventory management. A grocery retailer uses Tradeshift Buy, Pay, and the Spendency application for advanced spend analytics along with a sourcing solution to provide a curated shopping and fully integrated e-invoicing solution for more than 1,100 of its group-owned and franchise stores. They now have a guided buying experience with unique assortments for each store, brand, and department. And finally, a printing hardware manufacturer reduced parts inventory by 80% with agile adjustment to demand fluctuations by just using Tradeshift Pay and a Quintess application. There's any number of customized solutions that you can create to meet your own very specific needs on the Tradeshift network. So what steps can we take today to start our transformation journey? Well, look at your existing solutions, right, and trust the data you're seeing. What's the touchless processing rate? Do you have visibility into your exception rates? Or do you have a current level of invoice digitization? Analyzing the data and identifying areas ripe for improvement are critical steps in understanding the kind of solution you may need for your business. What's your plan for digitization? Digitize is the first step. How are you going to get more paperless? And don't be afraid to focus on seller first. Your technology choice and deployment will often succeed or fail based on the experience and value derived from your seller base. And how do you want to automate? Where can your existing workflows enjoy more efficiency? And are there opportunities to update or change your workflows to welcome new technology? We've all been working remotely for a very, very, very long time. Your employees need tools that do not depend on locally installed hardware or software. So consider moving to the cloud to create better, easier ways for your employees to work. And along those lines, future-proof your platform, please. Evaluate solutions that can be built upon and that don't need to be replaced in 5 years. Tradeshift really has had tremendous success in helping customers in a variety of industries, whether that be consumer packaged goods, retail, transportation and logistics, for example. And we've helped those customers digitize, automate, and grow with our solutions. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for attending the webinar. I'll definitely open up the conversation now for question and answer.